As Pesach approaches, what comes to mind is matzah and freedom. Matzah is actually the symbol to represent freedom and kingship, and so when we eat it, we lean, we recline, and we embody the position of kings as we munch on that matzah. But there seems to be an obvious question. Matzah is referenced the first time in the Haggadah in Halach Ma'anya as lechem oni, the bread of affliction, also meaning lechem ani, poor man's bread. If this bread represents oppression and poverty, why is it our symbol of freedom and royalty? Matzah is literally slave food, as we can see from a story brought down about the Ibn Ezra. He was a traveler and was captured in India and put in jail. What did they feed him? Matzah. Why? Because it's cheap. It has the least ingredients and takes the shortest amount of time to make, unlike bread, which has many ingredients, including yeast, which requires a much greater investment of time. Matzah uses the least resources, uses little time, and takes the longest to digest, leaving a person feeling fuller longer on less. We can see matzah is really the bread of the afflicted. It truly is poor man's food. The question is so clear. Why is matzah the language of redemption when all it represents is oppression and poverty? Why do we lean? We eat maror, bitter herbs, reminding us of our lives that were embittered in Mitzrayim. We definitely don't lean then. So why do we lean with matzah? How does it in fact represent kingship and freedom? The Maharal teaches us something fascinating, and I actually touched on this on a post last week. The Maharal says, matzah is the perfect symbol of freedom, precisely because it's poor man's bread. Let's explain. If I am a wealthy person and I view myself as that, a wealthy person, my sense of self is dependent on the wealth. In order to feel like myself, I need two things. I need myself and wealth, and then I am that wealthy person. My identity is tied to my assets or money. If I need something outside of me to make me feel like me, then I am enslaved to that thing. If I am popular with a lot of friends and my identity is dependent on having this popularity, then I am dependent on the popularity to be me, a popular person. If I am complimented by others and I am only happy with myself because of those compliments, then my reliance on those compliments actually enslaves me. I am not free. The more you have, the more you naturally become dependent on those things to make you feel like you, right? The more you have, the more you end up naturally needing. This is the nature of the world. The essence of a slave is that he is a total dependent. He is dependent on his master for everything. Everything he does, and even his time, is dependent on something outside of himself. His whole existence is a dependency existence. The less a person has, the less he identifies with those things on a personal level. He is able to exist as is. For example, if you're happy because you have something outside of you that gives you that feeling of joy, you're not really happy. You're happy as a dependent on something else. You're a slave to something outside of yourself. The greatest slavery is the need for something outside of you to make you feel whole or joyous on the inside. If a person wears specific types of clothing, shops in specific stores, lives a very specific lifestyle because their identity is attached to it, then they are enslaved to those things. If your successes make you, then the lack of successes will break you. If you're only happy on your good days, then your bad days will destroy you. If your emotional existence and identity is based on these extras, then you will always be a slave. When your need for those attachments wane and you stop needing something external to give you that sense of self, you cut the noose around your neck loose and become a free person. If you choose to wear designer clothes, drive an expensive car, and live a lavish life, but your consciousness about yourself is that of a poor person, and you don't identify with the extra things you have, then your extra stuff won't be a danger to your sense of self. And like a poor person who doesn't have the choice but to identify with his raw, pure self, unattached to extras, you too could have that same experience. Matzah represents that simplicity, that nakedness of being raw and just being you, being happy without dependencies, being free, not because you live in a certain type of house or have the most friends or created the greatest name for yourself, but rather you are free because you are who you are. Now, a person could have, like I said before, all this blessing of wealth, popularity, compliments, and so much more. But again, if their consciousness is that of an ani, of a poor person, meaning their sense of self is completely independent of their wealth or things or life situation, then they are in an emotionally healthy place, a place of true freedom. Freedom is a matter of the mind. It's how you see yourself and your life. As Rabashkin wrote in his book, he was in prison. He was not imprisoned. True freedom lies in your mind. You have the power to break free of the things you cleave to for identity purposes. You can get simple and raw, like the basic food called matzah that has the least dependencies to create itself. The ultimate freedom is that freedom of simplicity, of matzah, of the poor man's bread, and the goal of life is to incorporate this mindset so that you truly can be free to shine your light of being you.